The first snow of the season had come early to Jackson, Wyoming. It covered the pine-lined roads like a soft white secret, muffling every sound, leaving only the whisper of wind over the Tetons. Lila Harper tightened her scarf as she stepped out of her old Ford truck, boots crunching against the frost. She was used to the cold, used to silence, but that night, something in the air felt wrong. She had driven up to the edge of the Bridger-Teton forest to check the perimeter of her family's land. The fence had been broken the week before, maybe by elk, maybe by something else. Lila wasn't afraid of much. Years of growing up on a ranch with a father who believed in self-reliance had taught her to face the wilderness with open eyes. Still, the wind that night carried an unease that made her heart skip. She swung the flashlight toward the fence line. That's when she saw it. A dark shape collapsed in the snow, halfway under the pines. Her first thought was deer. Her second was bear. But when she stepped closer, the beam of light revealed fur streaked with blood, silver-gray fur, thick and wet. Her breath caught. It was a wolf. He was huge, far larger than any she had ever seen. A deep gash ran along his flank, crimson against the white snow. His chest rose and fell in ragged, shallow gasps. Lila knelt slowly, heart pounding so hard it felt like she could hear it echo through the trees. "Hey," she whispered. "It's okay, it's okay." The wolf's eyes flickered open, pale, almost luminous gold, like embers beneath ice. For a second she froze. There was intelligence in that gaze. Not animal fear, something more. Something that made her breath hitch. Still, she couldn't leave him. "I'm gonna help you, all right? Don't move." She took off her coat, pressed it gently against the wound. The wolf let out a low growl, but didn't snap. His body trembled under her hands. Lila could feel the heat of his blood through the fabric. She knew she couldn't carry him alone. Not that size. Not in the deep snow. But she also couldn't leave him to die. "All right," she murmured, voice shaking. "We'll get you to the barn." It took everything she had, dragging, coaxing, whispering. But she managed to get the massive creature onto a tarp and haul him, inch by inch, back to the truck. She had to stop twice to catch her breath, her muscles screaming. The wolf's breathing was shallow, but steady. Inside the barn, the air was sharp with the scent of hay and cold metal. She laid him down on the straw, the lantern light flickering over his fur. "God, you're heavy," she murmured, wiping snow from her face. "You better not bite me after this." She cleaned the wound with trembling hands, hydrogen peroxide, gauze, trembling courage. He flinched but didn't attack. When she pressed her palm to his side, she swore she felt his heart beating against her skin. Fast, strong, stubborn. When it was done, she covered him with a blanket and sat beside him, exhaustion settling into her bones. She told herself she'd stay awake, keep watch through the night. But the barn was warm, the snowstorm outside deepened, and her eyelids grew heavy. She drifted into uneasy dreams, of glowing eyes in the trees, of whispers in a language she didn't know. When she woke, the lantern had burned out. Dawn seeped through the cracks in the wooden walls, blue and cold. Her head ached. Her hands were numb. She blinked, trying to focus, and realized the blanket was empty. The wolf was gone. The bloodied bandages lay torn on the floor, claw marks gouged deep into the wood. Her breath came fast, heart hammering. She stumbled to her feet, looking around. Nothing but silence, only the faint sound of snow falling outside. Then she saw it, a trail of footprints in the snow leading away from the barn. Not paw prints, bare human feet. Her throat went dry. She followed them, step by step, into the gray morning. They led toward the tree line, then vanished near the frozen creek. The cold stung her cheeks as she stared into the woods, her mind struggling to make sense of it. A man's voice broke the silence. "Why did you help me?" Lila spun around. He stood about 20 feet away, half in shadow beneath the pines. Tall, broad-shouldered, bare-chested despite the cold. His skin was marked with streaks of dried blood, and beneath his ribs, the same jagged wound she had stitched only hours before. His eyes, those same golden eyes, fixed on her. Lila stumbled back. How? He stepped closer, snow crunching under his feet. "You shouldn't have come into the forest last night." Her pulse thudded painfully in her ears. That was you. He tilted his head slightly, as if testing her reaction. You bound the wound. You saved me. I thought you were a wolf. A faint, almost sorrowful smile touched his lips. You weren't wrong. She stared, breath clouding in the freezing air. That's impossible. His gaze softened. It's not impossible. Just hidden. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The world felt suspended, only the sound of wind in the pines and the faint creak of snow beneath their feet. Then he said quietly, I owe you my life, Lila Harper. Her name on his tongue made her skin prickle. How do you know my name? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked past her, toward the mountains veiled in morning fog. They'll come for me soon, and now they'll know you've seen me. Her voice cracked. Who will? He turned back to her, the golden light in his eyes dimming to something human, almost broken. The ones who would kill their king to take his place. Her breath caught. King. He nodded once. The king of Lycans. Snow began to fall again, slow, silent flakes drifting between them, as Lila's world tilted on its axis. The wounded wolf she had saved wasn't just some creature of myth. He was standing before her, flesh and blood, danger and sorrow wrapped in one impossible man. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear, something else began to stir, something she didn't understand yet, but could feel in the way his gaze lingered on her, in the way her heartbeat refused to slow. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying a low, distant howl. The man, the Lycan king, looked toward the sound, jaw tightening. They found me. Who? She whispered. He stepped closer, his breath ghosting in the cold. If you want to live, Lila, run. And before she could move, he was gone, a blur of motion vanishing into the storm, leaving only his footprints and the echo of a warning that would haunt her long after the snow stopped falling. For the next 3 days, Jackson lay beneath a gray shroud of snow and silence. Lila Harper moved through her cabin like someone half lost in a dream, her hands busy with routine, her mind elsewhere. The memory of that morning replayed on an endless loop, golden eyes, the wound she had stitched, the snow melting against bare skin. She tried to tell herself she'd imagined it. Maybe she'd hit her head, hallucinated the whole thing. But the claw marks on the barn floor were still there. So were the torn bandages. And when she drove into town for supplies, the local ranger mentioned finding a deer carcass torn to shreds near the tree line. Far too brutal for any normal wolf. Maybe a bear came out of hibernation early, he said. Lila only nodded. Her breath caught somewhere between fear and denial. Her life, usually so grounded, had become a tangle of impossible thoughts. She spent her evenings staring into the fireplace, remembering the way his voice had sounded, low, steady, ancient somehow. If you want to live, Lila, run. But she hadn't run. She stayed. On the 4th night, a storm rolled down from the mountains, sharp, metallic snowflakes biting against the windows. Lila went to secure the barn doors, flashlight trembling in her hand. She was halfway back to the house when she saw movement at the edge of the trees. Her heart jumped. At first, it looked like smoke drifting between the pines. Then she saw him, tall, cloaked in a tattered coat, walking as if every step cost him something. His hair was dark and wet with snow, his eyes faintly reflecting the beam of her flashlight. Lila froze. You. He stopped several feet away, his chest rising with visible effort. I didn't mean to come here. Then why did you? Because they're close. His voice was rough, almost human this time. And I can't lead them to you. Lila's pulse thundered in her throat. You're hurt again. He looked down at his arm, blood darkening the sleeve. Not as badly as before. Something inside her, the same stubborn compassion that had gotten her into this mess, made her step forward. Come inside. He shook his head. It's not safe. Neither is bleeding out in the snow. They stared at each other for a long moment before he exhaled, a cloud of steam in the cold air. Finally, he nodded once. Inside, the warmth of the cabin made his breath deepen. He didn't remove the coat, only stood by the fireplace, watching the flames. The light threw shifting gold across his face, handsome in a way that made Lila's stomach twist. His features were too precise, too still, like he'd been carved from something older than human time. She fetched the first aid kit, trying not to let her hand shake. "What's your name?" He hesitated, eyes flicking toward her. "Names are complicated." "Everything about you is complicated," she muttered, kneeling beside him. That earned the faintest smile. "You can call me Kale." "Kale," she repeated quietly, cleaning the blood from his arm. His skin was warm, unnaturally so, almost feverish. When she looked up, he was watching her with an intensity that made her breath falter. "You shouldn't be near me," he said softly. "Every moment you are, you put yourself in danger." Lila pressed a gauze pad to the wound. "You said that last time. I'm still here." "You don't understand." "Then explain." Kale's jaw tightened. He stared into the fire, the muscles in his shoulders tense. "My kind, Lycans, aren't the fairy tales you've been told. We're older, bound to the earth by blood and moon. But centuries of division have fractured us. There are those who believe the throne should fall to another. They'll kill anything that stands between them and power. And you're their king." His eyes met hers again, raw, unguarded for just a second. "I was, until they betrayed me." Lila swallowed hard. "And now they're hunting you." He nodded once. "They'll burn through the forest to find me. But if they see you with me—" Her hand trembled against his skin. "What happens if they do?" Kale's gaze softened, but his voice stayed low and grave. "You won't survive it." Silence fell, broken only by the hiss of snow against the window. Lila bandaged his arm in careful silence. Every time her fingers brushed him, her pulse raced faster. It wasn't just fear anymore. There was something else, a current beneath her skin that she couldn't name. When she finished, she stood quickly, retreating to the kitchen under the pretense of making tea. The kettle clanged against the stove as she tried to steady her breathing. From behind her, Kale spoke quietly. "Why did you help me that night?" She hesitated. "Because you were dying." "That's not a reason." Lila turned to face him, frustration burning through the fog of confusion. "I couldn't just leave you there, all right? Maybe that makes me stupid, but I'm not the kind of person who watches something suffer and does nothing." Kale's expression softened, a flash of something that looked like sorrow. Kindness like that has cost people their lives before. "Maybe," she said, voice trembling. "But if I hadn't done it, you'd be dead." His eyes flickered, gold brightening just for an instant. "And now my enemies will use that against us both." "Us," she repeated. Before he could answer, the cabin lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out. Lila froze. Outside, the wind had gone silent, unnaturally silent. Kale straightened, every muscle in his body coiled. "They're here," he murmured. A sound came from the woods, faint but sharp, like claws scraping against bark. Then another, and another. Kale moved fast, faster than her eyes could follow. One moment he was beside the fire. The next he was at the door, peering through the narrow window slit. His breath came out in visible bursts. "They found my scent." "Who?" "Stay down." He turned toward her, eyes glowing faintly gold again. For the first time, Lila saw fear in them. Not for himself, for her. A shadow passed across the window. Something huge. The front door shook under a violent impact. Wood splintered. Lila screamed as Kale lunged, catching the door before it broke. He looked over his shoulder at her. "No matter what you hear, don't run into the woods. Do you understand?" "Kale, promise me." I promise." The door burst open. A blur of movement, snow, and black shapes poured inside. Kale roared, a sound too deep, too animal to be human. His body shifted, muscles rippling, bones cracking beneath skin that glowed with moonlight. For one brief, terrible heartbeat, she saw both forms at once, man and wolf, light and shadow intertwined. Then the cabin erupted in chaos. Lila stumbled back, grabbing the shotgun from the wall. The air filled with snarls and shattering glass. She fired once, twice, blind into the smoke and snow. Something massive crashed into the wall beside her. And then silence. When her vision cleared, the intruders were gone. The front door hung half-broken. Blood, not hers, streaked the floor. Kale was kneeling amid the wreckage, half-shifted, his breath ragged. "Lila," he whispered, "you shouldn't have stayed." She stared at him, trembling. "You think I could just leave you?" He looked up, and for a moment, the flicker of something almost human returned to his gaze. "You have no idea what you've bound yourself to." Outside, distant howls echoed across the valley. Haunting, hungry, too close. Kale rose, limping toward the door. "They'll come again. Stronger. And when they do..." He turned to her, voice a low, broken promise. "I'll burn the world before I let them touch you." The next morning, the valley lay bruised beneath a sky of low, unbroken clouds. Smoke still curled from what had been Lila's front porch. The wood charred black, where something monstrous had struck the night before. She hadn't slept. Neither had Kale. He sat near the hearth, his body half covered by a blanket, his face pale beneath the thin morning light. The wound along his ribs had reopened during the fight, staining the floorboards a deep rust red. Lila knelt beside him, hands shaking as she tried to clean the blood away. "Stop," he murmured, voice low and hoarse. "It's already healing. Doesn't look like it." He met her eyes, that flicker of molten gold buried behind exhaustion. "You should leave this place, Lila. Go to town. Don't come back." She shook her head. "I'm not abandoning my home." "Then you'll die with it." Something inside her snapped. "You think you can just walk in here, drag the night with you, and tell me to disappear?" "No." Kale's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The fire popped sharply between them. After a long silence, Lila asked, "Who were they?" His gaze drifted toward the window. "Hunters, but not the kind you know. Lycans who've turned against the crown, my crown." "So you really are the Lycan king," he finished quietly. "In name only. My people believed in balance between man and beast, peace with humans, when we could manage it. But power twists everything. Those who betrayed me want a war. They think humans are parasites." Lila stared at the flames, trying to steady her breath. "And you?" Kale's voice softened. "I think we lost too much to become monsters again." Something about the way he said it, weary, almost broken, made her chest tighten. Outside, the wind howled against the shutters. Lila stood and began gathering supplies, blankets, ammo, food. "What are you doing?" "Preparing. You said they'll come again, right?" Kale's expression darkened. "You're not fighting my war." "Maybe not," she said, meeting his gaze. "But I'm not sitting here waiting to be slaughtered either." For a heartbeat, something like admiration flickered through his eyes. Then, quieter, almost to himself, he said, "You remind me of her." Lila paused. "Who?" He hesitated. "Someone I lost a long time ago." The air between them grew heavier, a silence that carried the weight of something ancient and grief-soaked. She wanted to ask, but the look on his face stopped her. That night, the storm returned, colder, louder, as if the sky itself was grieving. Kale stood by the window, watching the snow. His breath fogged against the glass. "They won't stop," he said. "They'll keep hunting until they find the one who helped me." Lila's stomach turned. "Then let them find me. I'm not running." He turned sharply, eyes flashing. "You don't understand what they'll do to you." "Then make me understand." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he began to unbutton his shirt. The movement was deliberate, almost ritual. Beneath the fabric, his skin bore scars, long, claw-like ridges that traced from shoulder to spine, glimmering faintly in the firelight. "They call it the mark of the Oathbreaker," he said softly. "When they turned on me, they tore out my power, half of it anyway. They bound it with blood magic, sealed it under my own flesh." Lila stared, transfixed. "You mean they cursed you?" "In a way." He looked down, voice low. "I can't shift fully anymore without losing control. When I do, I'm not sure what comes back. So last night, I almost became the thing I swore to destroy." His hands clenched at his sides. "That's why I can't stay. The longer I'm near you, the more dangerous it becomes." Lila stepped closer, her heart pounding. "You think I'm afraid of you? You should be." She reached up, slowly, deliberately, and touched the edge of one of the scars. His breath caught. "I'm not," she whispered. For a moment, Neither of them moved. The firelight flickered between them, gold on skin, gold in eyes. Kale's pulse beat fast beneath her fingertips, and she felt the storm of something unspoken rise between them, fear, desire, sorrow all tangled into one unbearable ache. "Lila," he said, voice rough, "you don't know what you're doing." "Yes, I do." He started to speak, but she pressed her fingers gently against his lips. The world outside disappeared. Only the sound of their breathing, the heat of the fire, the wild pulse of hearts that shouldn't have met. Then, in the space between words, the world changed. He kissed her. It wasn't soft, it was desperate, restrained, full of centuries of grief. She felt it down to her bones, that impossible connection, that terrible truth, that something not entirely human could still break the same way people did. When they finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. "This can't happen again," he whispered. "Why?" "Because if I lose control, you'll be the one I hurt." Lila's voice trembled. "Maybe you underestimate me." He almost smiled, but his eyes were shadowed. "Or maybe I know exactly what you are, and it's what will destroy me." Before she could answer, a sound broke the silence. Not wind this time, something mechanical. A low hum from the distance, followed by a blinding flash through the window. Kale's head snapped toward the door. "No. What is it?" "Hunters. Human ones." Lila grabbed her rifle, heart racing. "They found us. They've been tracking me for weeks. And if they know you're with me..." He looked at her, raw, fierce, terrified. "You can't be seen here. Not with me." Before she could protest, he crossed the room in 2 strides, took her face in his hands, and said quietly, "There's something I haven't told you." Her breath caught. "What?" "The night you found me, when you pressed your hand to my wound, you bound yourself to me. By blood." Her voice faltered. "What do you mean?" He looked into her eyes, the fire reflected in gold. "Your heartbeat is tied to mine now. If they kill me, you die too." The door shook violently under another impact. Snow burst inward through the cracks. Lila's hands trembled around the rifle. "Then we run together." Kale's eyes burned with something fierce and hopeless all at once. "You don't understand, Lila. The price of saving me is already written." Outside, voices shouted, human this time, and searchlights cut across the trees. Kale turned toward the window, his expression shifting from sorrow to something primal. "They won't take you. Not while I'm still breathing." As he stepped into the doorway, the snow flared white under the light, and for the first time, Lila saw him in full form, unchained by fear or mercy. The Lycan king, wounded, cursed, and still terrifyingly beautiful, vanished into the storm with a roar that split the night. And deep in her chest, Lila felt her own pulse mirror his, one heartbeat shared between woman and wolf, bound by a secret she'd never meant to carry. The night swallowed him. 1 second Kale was there, framed by the glare of searchlights and the shattered doorway, and the next, he was gone, torn into the storm like smoke into wind. The roar he left behind seemed to shake the sky itself. Lila didn't remember how long she stood there, clutching the rifle against her chest, her breath coming in small white bursts. The floodlights from the forest burned through the snow, searching, sweeping. Voices, human voices, cut through the wind. Spread out. "He's here somewhere." She ducked behind the overturned table, heart pounding so hard it hurt. The floorboards trembled under boots and the metallic click of rifles. A figure appeared at the doorway, tall, wrapped in tactical winter gear, snow streaking his beard. His name patch read L. Holt, and the insignia on his sleeve was Federal. "Ma'am." His flashlight beam landed on her. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" She blinked into the light, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm fine. Who are you?" U.S. Wildlife Response. "We're tracking a dangerous animal reported in this area." Lila's fingers clenched around the rifle. That wasn't an animal. Holt's expression didn't change. "Then you saw him." Something cold slid through her stomach. "You know what he is." He took a slow step forward. "You need to come with us, Miss Harper. It's not safe here." Behind him, more figures moved through the trees, rifles drawn. Their movements were too coordinated, too military. Not wildlife response. Not really. Lila rose slowly, trying to mask the tremor in her hands. "You're not here to protect anyone, are you?" Holt's jaw tightened. "You have no idea what you've brought into these woods." "Then tell me." He hesitated, then said quietly, "Cale Theron is not what you think. He's killed hundreds, humans and Lycans both. The war he started destroyed half of his kind." "That's not true," she whispered. "Isn't it? He's using you, Miss Harper. It's what he does. You think you saved him, but you've only bound yourself to a weapon." Lila's breath caught. The echo of Cale's voice came back. "Your heartbeat is tied to mine now." "Where is he?" Holt asked. "I don't know." She lied. Holt studied her face for a moment, then exhaled. "Then I hope you never find out." He turned to his men. "Sweep the ridge. If you see him, shoot on sight." They moved out, vanishing into the trees. Lila waited until their lights dimmed, then slipped out the back of the cabin, snow biting into her boots. The forest was a cathedral of silence. Only the wind and her heartbeat guided her. Somewhere out there, Cale was bleeding again. She could feel it, a pressure deep in her ribs, a sharp ache whenever she drew breath. She followed it. An hour passed. The storm thickened, swallowing her flashlight beam. She stumbled over roots, slipped on frozen ground. Then, through the white blur, she saw a dark shape collapse beside the creek. "Cale." He turned his head weakly, eyes half-lidded, silver hair plastered to his face. "You shouldn't have come. You think I could just sit there?" She dropped to her knees, hands already reaching for his wounds. His skin was cold, too cold. The gashes along his side were deep, black veins threading outward like poison. "They hit me with silver," he murmured. "They knew what they were doing." Lila's throat closed. "I can get you to town. There's a vet, or—" No, his hand shot out, gripping hers, his strength still terrifying even now. "You can't let them see me. If they realize what you are—" "What I am," she cut in, voice breaking. Cale's eyes opened fully, glowing faint gold even in the stormlight. "The bond, Lila. It's not one-sided. When you touched my blood, it recognized you. You're part of me now. You'll change if I die." The world tilted beneath her. "Change? Into what?" He looked away. "Something between us. Neither human nor Lycan." Her breath came fast, sharp. "You should have told me." "I wanted to." His voice was barely a whisper now. "But you were already part of it." The pain in her chest deepened, a pulse of fire, synchronized with his labored breaths. She tore her scarf and pressed it to his wound. "You're not dying. Not tonight." He tried to smile. "You can't fight fate. Watch me." She dragged him, inch by inch, toward a half-buried cabin at the edge of the forest, a ranger outpost, abandoned years ago. Inside, the air smelled of dust and cedar. She laid him down near the hearth and struck the flint. The fire sparked weakly to life. Cale's body shivered, his eyes fluttering open. "You shouldn't feel this much," he whispered. "What do you mean?" He reached up and touched her chest, right above her heart. "The bond's deepening. It's feeding on emotion, on what you feel for me." She froze. "What are you saying?" "That if you keep caring, it'll kill you faster." The fire crackled between them. Lila sat back, shaking her head. "I don't believe you." Cale's eyes glimmered in the flickering light. "Then believe your own heart. Listen." She did, and beneath her pulse, she could hear his, the same rhythm, the same beat. One heart, two bodies. Tears stung her eyes. "Then how do I stop it?" He closed his eyes. "You can't, unless one of us breaks it." "Break it how?" His answer came soft, devastating. "By killing the other." The words hit her like a blade to the ribs. She staggered back. "No." He looked at her, the faintest trace of a smile curving his lips. "It's the old law. The blood chooses, and only death unbinds." Outside, the storm screamed against the windows. "You think I could ever hurt you?" she whispered. "I think you might have to." She shook her head, tears spilling hot down her face. "Then we find another way." Before Cale could respond, the sound of engines broke through the storm. Headlights flared against the distant trees. Holt's men closing in fast. Cale pushed himself up, swaying. They'll kill you if they find you with me. I'm not leaving you again. Lila, please. But she was already moving, grabbing the rifle, shoving the door open. Snow whirled in, burning against her skin. Outside, the lights grew closer, brighter. Behind her, Kale's voice, low, breaking. If they kill me, you live. If you stay, you die. She turned back to him, eyes fierce through the tears. Then I'll take my chances. For a heartbeat, time stopped. He looked at her, the way one looks at something too beautiful to touch. Then quietly he said, "You've already made your choice." The forest exploded with gunfire. Bullets tore through the snow. Lila ducked, firing back blindly. A cry of pain echoed from the treeline, not human. Kale roared, the sound shaking the cabin's walls. His body began to change again, faster this time, bones shifting, muscles tightening beneath skin that shimmered with gold light. Kale, stop. You'll lose control, she cried. He turned toward her, half human, half wolf, his eyes filled with something wild and heart-shattering. If they touch you, there'll be nothing left to save. Then he was gone, out the door, into the blinding snow, straight toward the soldiers. Lila ran after him, the wind slashing her face, tears freezing on her cheeks. Through the chaos of flashing lights and gunfire, she saw him, Kale, the Lycan king, tearing through the storm with impossible fury. She screamed his name, but the storm swallowed it whole. When it was over, silence fell again. The lights dimmed. Smoke and snow mixed in the air. Lila stumbled forward, heart hammering, searching, until she saw him lying in the snow, still and broken. "Kale," she whispered, dropping beside him. His golden eyes flickered open, fading fast. "It's done," he breathed. "They won't follow us anymore." Blood stained her gloves. She cradled his head, sobbing. "Don't you dare leave me." His fingers brushed her cheek. "You were never supposed to be part of this." Her chest ached so sharply she could barely breathe. "Then why does it feel like I've known you forever?" He smiled faintly, the light in his eyes dimming. "Because you have." And before she could ask what he meant, he went still. Her scream tore through the frozen air, raw, broken, unending. And then, as the first light of dawn spread over the mountains, Lila felt it, her heartbeat faltering, slowing, fading with his, until everything went dark. The world returned in fragments, breath before sound, sound before sight. Lila opened her eyes to a gray dawn, to snow melting against her skin, to the hollow quiet of death all around her. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. The forest was still, the air sharp with the metallic scent of blood. Then memory hit, Kale's body, the gunfire, the way his hand had gone cold in hers. She sat up with a cry, heart pounding, and froze. The snow around her was red. His body was gone. Only his coat remained, half buried beneath the frost. Her breath came in ragged bursts. "Kale." The forest gave no answer. Only the wind, low and mournful. Lila pressed a trembling hand to her chest. Her pulse thudded slow, heavy, wrong. Each beat echoed in her bones like thunder. And underneath it, she felt something else, a second rhythm, faint but undeniable. His heartbeat. Her mind raced. If he's dead, I should be dead too. But she wasn't. Not completely. She rose shakily, scanning the treeline. The snow was too bright, too still. Something in the air had changed. The forest felt alive, not with danger, but with awareness, as though every branch and gust of wind was watching her. Then she heard it, a low, distant howl rolling across the valley. It wasn't a sound of pain, it was command, and her heart answered it. She buried Kale's coat that morning beside the frozen creek. It felt wrong to leave it exposed to the wind, wrong to walk away without saying something. "I don't know if you can hear me," she whispered, voice cracking, "but I meant what I said. You're not gone. I can feel you." As she covered the last of the fabric with snow, a strange warmth flickered through her fingertips, a shimmer that pulsed beneath her skin, gold like sunlight through water. Her breath caught. What the hell? The glow faded, but the warmth remained, coiling deep inside her chest. By afternoon, Holt's men were gone. The radio chatter she'd picked up on her emergency scanner said they'd evacuated, Target neutralized. Sight secured. No mention of her. No mention of what they'd found. She didn't dare go back to town. Not yet. Instead, she stayed in the ranger cabin, lighting small fires, wrapping herself in blankets that still smelled faintly of him. The ache in her chest grew worse by the hour, like her body didn't know whether to heal or die. When night came, she dreamt. She was standing in the forest, barefoot, snow glowing silver beneath the moon. Cale stood across from her, unscarred, whole, his eyes burning gold as they had the night she first found him. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "This isn't death," he said. "Not yet." "Then what is it?" He stepped closer, his voice low, filled with something both tender and ancient. "A crossing. The bond between us wasn't meant for mortals. My blood recognized something in you that I'd forgotten existed." Lila's throat tightened. What did it see? "The last of my kind's promise," he said softly. "The one meant to keep our two worlds from tearing each other apart." She shook her head. "I'm not." "Yes," he said, cutting her off gently. "You are. The bond didn't kill you because it completed you. You carry both halves now." Lila felt her pulse surge, her hands trembling. "Cale, what are you saying?" "That you've become what I was meant to be." His eyes met hers, glowing brighter now, fading into her vision until everything was gold and light. "When you wake, the world will call you a monster, but you'll know better. You'll know what it means to be both wolf and woman, mercy and fire." Tears burned down her cheeks. "Don't leave me again." He smiled, the same broken smile that haunted her every dream. "I never left. I'm in every heartbeat that's still yours." And then he was gone. Lila woke gasping, her breath misting in the cold. Her body felt different. The pain in her chest was gone, replaced by something humming beneath her skin. She stood and stepped outside. The moon hung full and pale above the treetops, turning the snow to silver fire. The forest was silent, waiting. Her senses sharpened. She could hear the heartbeat of a rabbit under the snow 50 yards away. She could smell pine sap, gun oil, and the fading scent of Cale, deep in the roots of the earth, lingering like memory. Then she saw it. Across the clearing, in the shadows of the trees, a figure watched her. For a moment she thought it was him, but no. This one was taller, leaner, eyes colder than Cale's ever were. "Cale's gone," the stranger said, his voice deep, echoing faintly through the pines. "And with him, the old order." Lila swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "His brother," the man said simply. "Dorian Theron, the true heir." Her pulse spiked. "You led the attack." He smiled, showing the faintest flash of teeth. He would never have fallen if he hadn't grown soft. "You did that to him." Lila took a step back, the air trembling around her. "Stay away from me." Dorian's eyes gleamed. "You carry his blood now. His power. You think I destroy that? No, little savior. I've come to claim it." Before she could move, he was on her, faster than thought, cold hands closing around her throat. But something inside her erupted. Light gold, fierce, alive, exploded from her chest. Dorian staggered back, snarling. The snow beneath her feet melted into steam. She didn't think, she became. Her bones shifted, her senses stretched. Pain and heat fused into one blinding rush. The world snapped into clarity, every sound, every scent, every heartbeat thrumming through her veins. When it was over, she was standing on 4 legs, her breath steaming in the night air. Her reflection in the snow showed silver gray, first streaked with light. Dorian's smile twisted into fury. "So it's true." He lunged. She met him midair. The world became motion and sound, snarls, claws, the crack of breaking branches. He was strong, but she was something else, something balanced, human and beast. Cale and Lila fused in one impossible creation. When she struck, the light from her claws burned gold through his chest. He fell, eyes wide, disbelieving. "You're not supposed to exist," he whispered. She leaned close, her voice a growl, low and steady. "Neither were you." When he went still, she stood over him, trembling, not from fear, but from the enormity of what she had become. The forest was quiet again. Lila shifted slowly back into herself, collapsing into the snow. The moonlight touched her face, the same way it had the night she'd found him. She looked down at her hands, blood snow, and faint traces of gold light, fading from her skin. Somewhere deep in the valley, a wolf howled. She closed her eyes. The sound wasn't lonely, it was calling. And for the first time since Kale's death, she didn't feel empty. She felt infinite. The snow began to fall again, soft and slow, covering the blood, the bodies, the past. As the first light of morning spread across the Tetons, Lila Harper, the woman who once saved a wounded wolf, walked alone into the woods. Not human, not beast. Something new. The first Lycan queen. And in the hush of the dawn, she swore she heard Kale's voice, soft and certain, carried on the wind. The bond never breaks. It only becomes.